Good evening and welcome for those who are here for the first time. Tonight's topic, knowing and connecting to God. Maybe just for a few moments. It is meant to be a workshop, so I'll just give a short introduction on how Raj Yoga sees God. It is sometimes a bit of a sensitive topic. Maybe that is why there are not too many today. But nevertheless, we feel it's an important topic to explore. Understanding in the Brahma Kumaris is that there are two parts to our existence. There is a non-physical part and there is a physical part. There is a physical dimension, the dimension that you can experience, explore, expand with through the sense organs. But there is also a dimension that is non-physical. Dimension of thought, dimension of experiences, dimensions of feelings and attitude and consciousness. And we are beings that exist at both levels. Not through the body we experience the physical world and the world of matter. But there is an inner world, a non-physical world. And the understanding is that we have started to confuse ourselves. Our sense of identity has become completely connected with the body and with the roles that we play through the body. Whilst actually this non-physical self, spiritual self, being of consciousness, transcends all those bodily identities. And so one very easy way to think of that supreme being, not soul, the non-physical self, being of light, but there is God as the supreme being, is seen as the one who holds that higher consciousness always, who sees the total picture and clarity always, and as a result is able to always be peaceful, always be loving. Another easy way to understand that Supreme One is there is a body, there are parents of this physical body, and there are parents of the soul. And the parents of the soul, the Supreme Soul, who is not a male or female, but can play the role. We can experience the relationship of father, and we can experience the relationship of mother with that Supreme One. But because that Supreme One holds the total clarity, always sees the physical and the non-physical, because that Supreme Being holds the perspective as if from above, from beyond, that being is always secure. He never gets trapped in bodily identities. And I'm saying he, but she, but not it. A living being. And so the way we understand God is as a being who is, first of all, always completely knowledgeful, always absolutely secure. And because of that, he's like an ocean of peace, an ocean of love, an ocean of joy. And because those are the highest and the refined experiences that God holds. His vision for all of us is like that too. He sees each one as a soul, first of all, but in their highest state of consciousness, their highest state, their highest potential, always. And He doesn't confuse anyone with the role or with the body. No? So this is, in a nutshell, a little bit of a context in which today's session will be held. So knowing that Supreme One and experiencing a connection, a relationship with that One. Now our relationships in general they color us, is the way it is said. You are as if influenced by the company you keep. Now, if you are influenced by good company, that is pleasant. If you are influenced by bad company, that is not so useful for yourself. Now, if we can have the mental company of the Supreme, then those qualities color us. Means if someone is, just imagine someone is always positive and you are in the company of someone like that. How does that make you feel? It influences you. If you are in the company of someone who is endlessly patient, would you like that? If you're in the company of someone who never complains, never, doesn't know what is complaint, wouldn't that be nice? But it also brings out the better part in you. So one thing is knowing God, and the other thing is to experience that mental company, and that even emerges also your own higher nature. Anyway, just a little bit of a context for today's further session, and I want to invite Sharon and Pooja to continue with some other sharings and some exercises. And then in the end we will see each other again. Om Shanti. So as we continue with the topic of God, the ocean of love, I think of what the world needs today. If money was no object, if it wasn't an issue in our life, what do you think man would need today? What do you think people are searching for? Love. Yeah. And love actually starts with the self, correct? Yeah. Because the world that we're in today is moving at such a fast pace that sometimes we're feeling the push and pull of life as we try to make it work with our relationships, our various relationships of work and family and society, that we get lost oftentimes. We tend to lose ourselves. And then we forget our inner qualities. We forget the inner being because we're constantly looking outside. And so Raj Yoga meditation helps us to pause
and to examine what's really important. As Sister Rona stated, it is our connection with God. And God is actually a reflection. He is the supreme, and we are a reflection of Him. So, in order to develop this relationship, it would be helpful to identify some of His qualities. Yeah? And because the relationship with God is so vast, there's such a variety, we want to keep in mind the relationship that we would have with our mother, our father, our spouse. Those loving relationships, those qualities that, whether we get them or not, what it is that we think they should look like. How would they make us feel? And so I'm going to ask you to help us to identify some of these qualities. What do you think are the qualities of a loving parent, for instance? Can someone, Sister Pooja, can you help? Yeah. What is it? Accepting. Patience. Benevolence. Wise. Oh, so wise. Nurturing, yes. Kindness. Any other wonderful qualities that we can think of when it comes to our relationship with our supreme parent, our father, mother? Love. Unconditional love. So what does benevolence look like? What do you think benevolence involves? Can you help us to unpack that, for instance? Yeah. Always kind. Yeah. Best interest is, yeah. And patience. Do we even remember what patience looked like? What does patience look like today? Just allowing another person to be, to accept that person without judgment. Is to know that, okay, they may be taking one step today. It's like a child. A child that starts, first of all, maybe trying to stand up, and then trying to hold on, trying to walk. And then when that child is walking, it will stumble and fall, but it keeps getting up, exactly. So we patiently wait for the child to grow and develop. Our Father's the same way. And oftentimes when we fall, what do? Mommy, Daddy, pick me up, right? Because we know that we're secure with our parent, and God holds this higher quality of patience, the highest. So it's a symbiotic relationship, actually, the parent-child relationship as we see in God. And what is different is that God is beyond time and space and matter. And because we've been caught up in this treadmill of the push and pull of life, we tend to lose or forget our inner qualities. And so tonight we aim to look to our Father, to examine these qualities so that first we can remember who we are and use the qualities that we know are innate to also interact with each other, because we are interconnected. There's one source. Would you agree? And so different cultures or religions identify this one source by different names. Some may call him Allah, Jehovah. Can you help me with some other titles that I may not remember? Any other titles? Supreme, I'm sorry? Brahma, student. The Supreme Being. Yes, he's also known as the Benevolent One. Always giving, always caring. And so part of first understanding or getting an insight into the qualities of God is to know that He's always, always there. It's again, coming back to the parent-child relationship. We may go off and do our own thing, and then when we realize that, it's not working, we know that our parent is always there, ready to receive us. And sometimes we have to sit in that quiet space to connect. So Sister Pooja, can you take us through some of these an experience or meditation experience? Thank you.
I'm good sitting. So let's just, I prefer sitting at the back, so you just, Sister Sharon could be there. Let's just sit comfortably and just experience the inner world. So become aware first of the surroundings. That's the outer world. And then just withdraw from everything that's external, everything that's temporary and outside, to the most beautiful inside inner world, the being of light. This being is the one who is the experiencer. Experiences through the sense organs, uses the eyes to see, the ears to listen, the mouth to speak, the experiencer is always in that beautiful space. Once we tap on to that energy, that inner being, the real self, we feel peace, and we experience stillness. The inner being just uses the body as a vehicle. The one that is unchanging, the one that is eternal, is the inner being.
could even use a visual if it helps me. Just a tiny point of light in the center of the forehead. The master of the self, just like a driver of the car is the master. The driver uses the car as a vehicle. The being is the same. Comes from an unchanging, eternal world and just comes here as a guest, as a traveler. Taking a deep breath in, let the spark in the center of the forehead just glow positively, spreading that energy. This is me, and this is the truth. Om Shanti.
Anyone care to share what they experienced during that moment of quiet, of meditation? So what happens for me when in meditation is that the thoughts slow down. Yeah? And it is in this slowing down of the thoughts, in this quiet space, that I can connect with the Supreme Being and take power from Him. Because the Supreme Being is also a point of light. The energy field, like the energy source of this body is my soul, the point of light. The Supreme Soul is a point of light. The difference is He doesn't have matter. He doesn't have a body like me. And when we think of energy, we think of electricity that, just imagine the electricity that runs through a house, a building. There's one source of energy, and we can use that source of energy to plug in a microwave, a vacuum cleaner, a blender. Any electrical device can operate once it's connected to that source of energy. Without that connection, it's just a fancy appliance. It's just there. It has all the capabilities of operating at its fullest, but unless it's connected to the source, it's useless. And so because we are similar to the Supreme Source, to the Supreme Soul, it is necessary that we make a connection, first build a relationship. And to build a relationship, we know it takes consistency. If we speak with someone today and we don't speak with that person for another several weeks or months, for instance, then that person is just an acquaintance. We wouldn't really say that we're in sort of kind of a relationship with them, unless there's, something in common. Yeah? Even let's say our parents, children go off to college, you think about them often, even if you don't verbally communicate. And similarly, our relationship with the Supreme Source is that important. More so today because of the times that we're in. We look around today and we see people have lost touch with themselves, the environment, each other. And, I know it raises many questions, but there's one commonality, there's one missing link. We don't have any power because we're not connected. And people today are looking for this source. And it draws questions in the mind because we've been taught that if you can't see something, then it doesn't exist, right? Well, I can't see the wind, but I can feel it, so I know it exists. There's certain other energies that I can't see, but I know it exists. And to prove that it's real, we can interact with someone and we can feel that either good vibration or not so good vibration, correct? Yeah, without even speaking words. There's that energy that is shared amongst all of us. But like that appliance that just sits on the countertop, when we plug in and know how to plug in, we can reach our highest potential. And so love, the love of God, is actually the love of the self. And then we can see our own qualities emerging, or qualities of patience for each other. First for the self, and then for each other. Of benevolence, of kindness. These are the qualities that the world is lacking today. And we don't need to turn on the news to see how true this is. But we recognize, the Raja Yoga meditation practice recognizes that we have to be the change that we want to see. So we aim to be world transformers, one soul at a time. And what Sister Rona was mentioning about this highest state of consciousness. There's a saying that the people perish for a lack of knowledge. And to know the self and to know God brings that inner happiness, that contentment, that unlimited blissful feeling. Because when we look in the stores, we look in the malls, we look everywhere. We're looking. Not for lack of trying. We're looking for love. And it's within. It's within us. But it emerges when we build that relationship with the Supreme Father. There's one source, regardless to the name or title. There's one source, and we're all interconnected because of that one source. And so being colored means that we stay in the company of learning spiritual knowledge, that we stay in the company of goodness, and we emerge those qualities within so that we can shift the vibrational field in the atmosphere. To be colored means that even if someone is not so kind to me, that I can have that patience and that tolerance and reflect that positive energy that soul may be lacking. To be colored doesn't mean that I do what everyone else is doing. It means that I can be that change agent. But to be effective, I must have a relationship with God. Any questions or comments about what we've covered so far? I don't know that we can really trick the brain. I think we have to have clarity and understanding so that it becomes a natural state of being. Because that's which is false will be revealed in time anyway. So we may continue on this falsehood, on this treadmill that everything is okay, and eventually we become out of balance in our mental state, in our emotional state, and then the physical takes over, and that becomes out of balance as well. So what meditation is slowing down the thoughts and directing it, Raja Yoga specifically, directing those thoughts in a specific direction, which is positivity inside and upwards to the Supreme. Yeah. Does that help?
I'm trying to convince myself that there is something other than the physical world.
Okay. So energy. Let's just take a look at energy. We look at water, for instance. There's solid, liquid, and gas. It's the same element, but it changes. And the change is a slowing down of the molecules. So the gas, really, you may not be able to see through evaporation, but you know that it was once water. Yeah? You heat water, condensation, it starts to evaporate. Same element, you freeze that water and it becomes solid, becomes ice. Same element. And so it's the energy field. Would you agree that you can sense someone's not so good feeling, good, bad, or indifferent?
I know people do, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, sometimes it requires first tapping inside, going to the inner space, and then we are able to emerge those qualities. But maybe Sister Rona would be able to better answer that as well when she closes. Yeah. Sister Pooja, you want to add?
So we were talking about God. Oh. I don't want to be. So knowing God, I think first thing is to know yourself. Knowing ourselves is not just this external world that we live in. Everything that we see here is temporary, ever changing. But there's something that's always constant within us, is the inner being, the soul. And the only way we can understand and experience is by just only way we can understand it is by experiencing it. That I am this being. And just like we have a parent for the body, there's also a parent of the soul. And that's why we have been calling out and reaching to God in different forms, different ways, and always searching. And so Raj Yoga meditation and the knowledge teaches us first to tap onto ourselves, to know the inner being, and then knowing the parent who's always, always, all these qualities that we were talking about. And why is he or her, like Sister Rana says, always in that experience? Because God is in an unchanging world, in a world where we come from. And he is always detached from drama, as we call the play, actually, the drama, always detached, and he can see from a distance. And he's just like us, like the body of the parent would be a body. We have bodily parents. But the soul's parent is in the same form, a point of light, soul. But he's supreme. He lives in the supreme abode, and he's full an ocean of every single quality that you can think of. And that's what we want to experience, and we look out and search. But when we connect to him, we can really feel his presence. We can feel his qualities. Like Sister Rana was saying, company colors us. How does it color us? He's the only one who's away. He's the only one, he's perfect. He's the only one who's ocean of love, unconditional love. Because he sees us as souls, as point of light. He doesn't see the body, he sees the role that we are playing. We're playing different roles, right? I, the role of puja. We, whatever name we have. So whatever role that is given to us, he sees that as temporary. And he teaches us that, child, this is just temporary, the role that you're playing. But you are my child, and you're the same as me, a point of light. And that point of light is the same in qualities if we color in his company. Just like, I'm sorry. Just like, I could give you an example of electricity. How does electricity pass? So we're talking about connection with the Supreme. We pray to him and we search and look for him in different ways. So same way, electricity passing. How does electricity pass? Can anyone explain? If there's two wires, how would electricity pass between the two wires if we connect it? How do you connect it usually? Positive, negative. So, have you seen when two wires, I don't know if I'm giving an accurate example, but when you see two wires, there's a rubber coating on them. Have you ever tried the inside, the actual wire inside? And then you connect it, and that's how the electricity passes. So you need to take off the rubber coating, and then the electricity. I don't know if I'm giving that proper example. So the same way, when we take this coating off, which is the body, and come in our original form, the soul, the inner being, that's when we can feel his connection. And also, we all come from the soul world, the supreme abode, which is an unchanging, eternal world. And that's where he is always in that space. And that's why he's constant and ever pure, ever unconditionally. He loves all his children unconditionally. That's why we say God, and we always think of God as the one with all qualities and unconditional. But how does he stay like that? He is always in that space, and he just looks at the soul and not the role. So in Raj Yoga, when we learn about the course and we will learn about Raj Yoga meditation, this is how we learn to actually connect to the Supreme and color ourselves in his company. So I would like to invite Sister Rona to come over and give us more insight or experience of being with God and sharing with all of us, in fact, last 20, 25 years, so she can give you a better insight of connection with God. Thank you.
Okay.
This is my first experience. My question is, how many more meditations that would really put me in that, I don't know, just a perfect state?
It is not so much a question of how long am I meditating or how many meditations, but it is a question of accuracy. Puja was giving a very nice example. Now, if there are two wires, but the insulation is still there, if you connect them, there's no energy flowing. You have to take off the insulation. What is it called? The coating? The rubber coating you have to take off. So in order for us to be able to experience one who is in a higher state of consciousness, I have to bring my consciousness up to that level. Then I can experience company, then I can experience presence. Now it's like the radio, what is it called? The radio frequency. To be able to catch the frequency, you have to be on that frequency. Then you catch it. Otherwise, it is there, but you miss it. Like for example, there are many radio waves going around, but you're not tuned in, so you're not aware. But if you're tuned in, if you are on that frequency, then you can catch. So meditation is about getting onto the right wavelength mentally. And then once we catch that right wavelength mentally, we can experience the company. And what is that wavelength? That wavelength is a state of absolute security, a state of absolute internal silence, a state where we have dropped all the egos, a state where we have dropped all the bodily identities and understand and experience the identity of the soul as a traveler, as a guest. That state where we experience that this is just a temporary vehicle, but I am this being of energy. And more my mind and awareness is tuned at that level, I will start experiencing those who are on that frequency also, their presence and their company. Now, how long does that take? It is not so much a question of how long does that take, but how how sincere I am in my practice, how sincere I am in my efforts, and how much I have played with dropping attachments. And also, it doesn't have to be like an ongoing thing all the time, but it can be a moment that you, in that state of mind, you experience it, and then we come out of it again. But then we can get into that state of awareness again. But I'll explain a bit more detail later on. But I first wanted to address that question of whether there is a non-physical and how to stimulate that right brain part of us. The left brain is analytical. The left brain thinks in concepts. The left brain is what? Linear thinking. The left brain is intellectual understandings and logic, whilst the right brain is play. The right brain is about seeing patterns. The right brain is about intuitive part is also there. But it is, for example, in sports, we use both parts. In sport, you train yourself, you know the rules, you enhance your skill, but the left brain enjoys the game. Yeah, winning or losing it is just a game. Ultimately, you can pack up and go home and be okay with it. Sorry, the right brain. The left brain, knows all the rules, know the strategy, trains the skills, and be disciplined. And the right brain enjoys. Knows it is a game. Can pack up and leave the whole thing and go home and sleep nicely, win or lose. So, to stimulate both parts, activities where both parts are used, and actively use them. That is how you train both parts. Now, how can we go about life doing that? We have become disbalanced in that way. Life itself, we can approach it as a game. Can we? If we approach it just left brain, then it will be a war. But if we play with that attitude of a game, and in a game there are, There are challenges, there are rules, there are ups and downs, and there are skills. But ultimately it is just a game. In every situation you can learn something. Every situation you can enjoy. Getting better, learning something, seeing the higher secret behind it. But we have become too serious. We can blame anything and everything. But it ultimately comes back to us. And this is why it is so nice to have this theme tonight. Although we are very aware that it is a bit of a sensitive theme, and maybe not necessarily the most popular theme, but that Supreme One, God, is one who is perfect balanced. He knows truth, but he also knows the game. One who is knowledgeful, but one who is also playful. One who is wise, but at the same time innocent. One who is loving, but at the same time knows what is benevolent and what is not. And so one title of God, that is used in Eastern culture, is zero. God is zero. Shiva Shambhu. God is zero. Now, this is kind of nice, no? God zero. You like that? Bit opposite of what we seem to be thinking all the time. Now, how is it that God is zero? Beginning and the end. Positive and negative becomes zero. Very good, invisible. So zero body. Zero bodily identity. So God doesn't say, this is my body. Supreme doesn't have a body of its own. Now, are we zero in that way? Do we have a body? Or do we use a body? It's different, no? Now, if you say, I have a body, what is the characteristics of property? Property or ownership? Ownership. What is the characteristic of something that is owned? Truly. You should never lose it. Now, in a true sense, do we own this body? We use it, yes, and we are the only ones to use it, yes. But it is given to us by nature, and one day we will have to give it back. So in a sense, we are also zero. We are like God. But we have forgotten that, and we have started to say mine, and then we started to say I. We completely forgot that we are also zero. Soul, using the vehicle. Now in Christianity there is this saying of God, and probably in other religions also, made in image and likeness. So what is that image? Zero. Now, do we like that, to be zero? Ego inside doesn't like that at all. Ego says, no way I'm zero. So this tendencies towards negativity, this ignorance within us. Yeah. All those bodily identities resist that. God doesn't have that internal struggle and war. He's zero and very happy being zero. No need to identify with anything or anyone. No internal struggle. Doesn't say my to things or to body. And because of that, that Supreme One is free from anxiety and free from fear and free from loss. So zero fear, zero anxiety, zero worries, zero expectations, zero desires, zero needs, zero complaints. Wouldn't that be nice? Now, a mind like that, what goes on in a mind like that? Peace. So because that Supreme One is zero, He's like an ocean of peace. Doesn't need anything. doesn't want anything, doesn't desire anything, doesn't expect anything. Now, isn't that nice company? Someone who never complains. Wouldn't it be nice company? All of this is frequency. So more I get into that frequency, more I experience that company. What else? Zero. Zero vices. Zero greed. Zero attachment. Zero self-doubt. Zero doubt in general. And zero self-doubt also. Zero jealousy. Zero gossip. Zero anger. Zero arrogance. You get a picture of the personality of someone who is like that. Absolutely 100% benevolent. Absolute respectful. But the nicest thing, at least that is what I feel about the Supreme, is that he reminds us, she reminds us that we are like that too. If we drop our ego, if we drop our ignorance, if we drop our wrong identification with God. Now, God is zero, He is neither male nor female. That's another nice thing.